Welcome to the Be Bold, Be Birmingham podcast. We're here to dance to the beat of Brum's drum. We're here to sing the soul of our city. Birmingham 2022 is just round the corner, and we've been speaking to some fantastic people in Birmingham that have contributed to our community. My name is Melzy J, your host, and I'm here with my lovely co-host Ben.
Hello, Melzy. We're on Zoom again.
We're on Zoom
Yeah,
again.
and
Yay.
you may have noticed that we don't have any guests today.
I know, right?
Right.
Dun, dun, dun.
So I was thinking, we've done a few episodes now. We've met quite a few people, and it might be fun to have a bit of a recap, look back at some of the conversations, some lessons that we've learned, some of the inspiring people we've talked to. Sound good?
Sounds great to me.
So we had episode 1 was with Martin Green and Amira Saleh. Do you remember?
I remember Amira Saleh, the poet, and does she actually know it?
I know. I think so. I think
She does.
and Martin Green, who is the creative director of the Commonwealth Games. What a title and what a man! But I know that this is the man who helped in the project to get the Queen to parachute out of a helicopter at the London 2012 Games. So this man is capable of complete insanity and genius. So that was really exciting to chat to him about some of that creative process as well. But really exciting to talk to him about that.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because sometimes you might see an event, but then you don't actually know what goes into creating that, what goes into producing that, all of the background people that are involved to make that happen.
Yeah,
so it's
totally.
great to get an insight from Martin and see how, the background works when it comes to Commonwealth Games. I think it's great.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely.
Chief Creative Officer. Big name, that is.
It is quite posh, isn't it? I do all the fun stuff. Or my team actually, because it's a group effort, of course. I'm just the gob at the front. So we do the opening closing ceremony, we do the culture festival, we do the Queen's Baton Relay, we do the live sites, we do sports presentation, medal ceremonies and welcome ceremonies and the learning and education program. So basically all the fun stuff that fits around the sport, basically.
One thing that was brought up that I didn't expect to be brought up, but what an amazing point. I mean, Amira she's incredible because she's so tiny in size and she's so huge in like the weight of what she says. And one of the things that she talked about was as a young Muslim woman in Birmingham being such a diverse city, how important it was for her to enable people to see people that look like them on the screen doing things. This is talking back to the handover ceremony when the last Commonwealth being in Australia, this one being in Birmingham. So she read a poem out and said how important that representation was. And representation's been something that's come up again and again in this podcast series as well.
Something that you were just saying there made me think of, there's a local poet in Birmingham. There's a poem that goes, 0121 don't need to look pretty. Royalty in the battlefield always has its scars. Birmingham's got plenty, but at least it's got heart.
100%. I think what I loved about Amira was her poem and her passion for supporting her community and her kind of representing women from diverse backgrounds. There was a lot of depth in terms of her being from Birmingham and her being a creative, and just hearing about her journey and how she started was absolutely inspirational. I can't wait to see her perform again.
I know. Another thing, because I mean, we talk. This will be apparent by the end of this little episode. We talk a lot about food. Now, I like to think that I know quite a lot about food in Birmingham, or liked to think I did until I met Amira, who, when we tasked her with giving us, I think it was a 48 hours tour of the city, her knowledge of the little underground eateries in the city is amazing.
I would have to say, actually, Ben, because we did ask a few people where they would take us out on a day out in Birmingham, and I have to say, Amira's seems to be the best day.
Do you know what? I'm with you. Who did we chat to in episode 2?
We obviously spoke to Tom Ross and PJ Ellis. They had so much to say about the culture in Birmingham, especially Tom. He spoke about the 80s, being an Irishman, being from a poor background. We really resonated with that, and it was nice to kind of hear his story from a proper true Brummie.
But this is a warm city. It's a friendly city, but it's also culturally diverse city as well.
Yeah.
I defy anybody to walk down towards the Jewellery Quarter, towards St Paul Square. It's amazing. I mean, I had a program controller Duncan Campbell came from Australia, and he didn't want to come here because he'd heard all the bad vibes about Birmingham. He didn't want to come. And I remember bumping into him in town, and he said, "I take it back." He said, "I've just walked down Colmar Row, down to St Paul Square." He said, "I love this place."
Yeah, that's right. And I think one of the things that he spoke about, which I sort of stuck in my mind, was the work that was done with Help Harry Help Others. So I knew of Harry, but it was probably just a little bit before my time as an adopted Brummie in Birmingham. So Harry was this young lad who was diagnosed with cancer, and rather than do nothing about that, he used his opportunity. He used his illness as an opportunity to help so many other people by fundraising, spreading the word, talking so bravely with so many influential people in the city. I think it was sort of a bit of a, Tom was sort of saying it was a bit of a key point in bringing the city together, and focusing it on such a good thing, you know, such a positive focus. So that was really inspiring for me, definitely.
He ripped the you-know-what out of me. He's only a young lad. And he suddenly looked at me and he went, "Well, I've got this cancer, and I'll show you it's terminal, and and I'm doing it." And I'm thinking, for goodness sake, this young kid has got to, instead of wanting to go to Disneyland, he wanted to sit on a supermarket step selling bracelets to help to raise money, in his words, to say, because I don't want other mums to suffer like my mum suffered. And he broke me up, and that was it for me.
So episode 3, we discussed diversity, and specifically diversity within the LGBTQI plus community. So we had 2 guests on. We had Saima Razak, who's head of comms for Birmingham Pride, and also Piera Zizi, who does all kinds of things. So both incredible speakers, really inspiring people, talking about our LGBTQ scene in the city. We spoke a little bit earlier about representation from episode 1 with Amira, and I found that really interesting for Piero. So his work in sport, and particularly I think his thing's football, and growing up being so involved in the football scene as a gay man, and sort of how he felt about that, and the pressures to sort of come out, or to maybe not come out, and then eventually when he did, he said it was, people were really accepting and loving, and I thought that was really inspiring.
My story and my coming out, and the way that I'm treated as a gay man, isn't ideal, isn't great. But I know that there are people that are far worse off, and have had far more adversity coming through and growing older and kind of coming out and having finding their community and finding their spaces.
Yeah, I think it was, because you don't really hear many stories like that, and it was great to kind of talk about, different types of gay people, different types of people within that community. So let's kick straight back into episode 4, Ben.
Episode 4, we're talking to Andy Munro and we're talking to Lizzie Thompson, 2 people that I didn't think I'd be as riveted as I was with, if that makes sense. Reason being, Andy Munro talking about pen museums and Balti, and Lizzie Thompson talking about brick making and canals.
So yeah, I am mad about bricks.
I love that. It's so good.
I've got a brick collection.
Well, Lizzie,
I know it's
taking it too far now.
If I was looking for a husband now, I don't think I'd find one after having admitted that.
Yes, 2 words to explain this episode would be Balti and bricks.
Yeah, nice. So this one was all about creativity. So we spoke to 2 good friends of mine, actually. We spoke to Adam Regan, who is the owner of the Hare and Hounds, and also Left Foot DJ. So Hare and Hounds is a huge venue. I mean, it's an intimate, small venue, but it's very well known on the sort of music map across the UK and further afield. But it's in Kings Heath in Birmingham. And then we also spoke to Matt Nation, who is a designer, and he is the man behind Provide, which is a sort of I mean, I know it as a clothes label, but it does a lot more than that. It's sort of lifestyle brand, really.
I'm going to stay here and kind of create the city that I want to create without kind of having this to give into this pull of going somewhere, you know?
Yeah.
Can I just say on behalf of Birmingham, we accept you.
Thanks, Adam. I appreciate it.
You are a shining beacon in the city of Birmingham.
It was such a great opportunity to kind of speak to Adam about the Hare and Hounds. It's a place that I've been to before and seen the intimacy, seen the vibe and energy in the room. So to kind of get his insight on how the Hare and Hounds started, and it's gone from being a basic pub to like an actual, you know, well-renowned venue for artists that are touring in Birmingham, you know. And what I love most about that space is it is interchangeable. You might go there and it's a drum and bass night. You could go there and see like a reggae artist. You might go on another night and see a metal group. So it's great that there's just so much variation happening at Hare and Hounds.
Another thing that Adam said, which I'd never thought about before, but it makes so much sense. I asked him whether Birmingham music has its own sound.
Musically, is there a personality in the sound of music that comes out of this city, do you think?
This is funny you should ask that, because we talked about this the other day, and I think that is probably one of the things that makes somewhere like Manchester or Liverpool or Bristol stand out more in the terms of a musical sound, because Birmingham has always been a complete melting pot. Let's be honest, the most famous bands from Birmingham have nothing in common. Black Sabbath, UB40, Still Pulse, Duran Duran, you know, they have nothing in common musically.
In fact, the fact that it doesn't have its own sort of musical identity means that actually that is its identity. It's everything. It's a bit of this, a bit of that. A buffet, if you like. Episode 6, you guys should listen to if ever you've got something cooking and you're not that hungry. Just listen to episode 6, because by the end of it, you will be hungry. We spoke to Jack Brabant from Digbeth Dining Club, and also Laura McEwen, who writes the Bite Your Brum food blog, which can't recommend it enough.
I think this is probably one of my favourite episodes.
Something I'd heard about before the episode, but I didn't really know anything about, and it blew me away, was Jack's work with Digbeth Dining Club and the team with their CIC, their sort of the charity incentive that they've got going on there, feeding so many people. I think it was 200,000 children that they've managed to feed to date. Which is just, you know, unbelievable.
It was absolutely amazing. And even over Christmas, I saw on his social medias, he was feeding homeless people and children over the Christmas period. And might I say, these food packages are actually really nice.
So at the end of every episode, Melzi, you've asked the question to our guests, what makes Birmingham bold? And I wanted to just hear a few of those and listen to some of the quite a lot of the time similar answers are told. So let's have a little listen to some of them.
What makes Birmingham bold?
You can't say your cottage pie.
Oh, well, then I'm leaving.
We're great inventors. We're really creative. We go where nobody else dares, but we don't need to shout about it like certain cities I won't name.
Yeah, I'll read between the lines.
And I think the thing that makes us bold is the fact that we always come together. So if something happens, something goes wrong, we'll always come together and we put it right. Our city is a city of equality. So I think, Birmingham will always be bold. I'm just proud to be a Brummie.
As we've talked about today, it's got a fantastic independent scene, and we're seeing that more and more. And I think that's why it's bold, because people are willing to have a go and give it a go.
There's always a conversation to be had with someone just around the corner. So be you walking down the canal, being on the bus, you can strike up a conversation and learn something new.
Mentality is like, everyone's different in Birmingham, and I think that's one of the greatest strengths of the city, is that we are very, very diverse and now young as well. Diverse and young are two very bold and positive things, I think.
I think everybody who isn't from Birmingham underestimates Birmingham, and they underestimate the people from Birmingham. And that is a massive mistake, because some of the most creative, clever, and vibrant people I know are born and bred here and are doing really, really good things.
Warmth, friendly, passionate, caring. How many more do you need?
I think for me, it's coming back to a really recurring theme of this talk, and it's just the diversity and the inclusivity of the city.
I think it's made up of people who have chosen to be here. The fact that you have this mixture of people who are born and bred Brummies alongside people whose families have come and maybe their first, second, third generation Brummies. This kind of mixing of different worldviews, different cultures, different approaches to business and art and everything else makes for a city like no other.
Thank you for tuning in to the Be Bold, Be Birmingham wrap-up episode with me, Melzy J and Ben. It's been an absolute great stuff going over some of the old episodes. If you've not watched Be Bold, Be Birmingham yet, you need to head over to the Birmingham City Council social media, Instagram or YouTube, type in Be Bold, Be Birmingham, and we will pop up straight away. Make sure you like, subscribe, and share it with anybody that's going to enjoy this podcast.
Awesome. Thanks for listening, guys.
Thanks. Bye.